Welcome to Pride in Parsippany. I'm your host, Mayor James Barberio. Today with me I have Morris County Sheriff Edward Rochford. Welcome on the
Good morning, Mayor. How are you?
Just so you know, I'm being watched by the Kelly Ripka live show because they're thinking of having me take Michael Strahan's place. So, joke. Well, first of all, I'm going to ask some questions, as you know, and you've been a public servant for 51 years, and not public servant in law enforcement 51 years as well. 21 as sheriff, 24 as sheriff, and 27.
I started in 1965 with the Morris Township Police Department, and I worked my way through the ranks to become deputy chief, and then when I left in 1992, I won the election for Morris County Sheriff. So I was there for 27 years, and it'll be 24 years as sheriff of Morris County. And going back, probably way before your time, I remember at the intersection of Route 10 and 202 was Alderney Dairy. There was no Hilton Hotel, all fields there, and there was no Route 287 through Parsippany. And around that time, the apartment complex phase started, and Parsippany became the largest municipality in Morris County, and you guys are doing a good job here.
Thank you. I know. I came to Parsippany when I was 4 years old, and I remember when they were building 287, and it's later in the 60s.
So you came here 25 years ago.
Yeah, that's good. So, yeah, I'm only 26, so. But first I can tell you what's nice with the sheriff, and he's worked very well with Parsippany. You've always been amenable to us. You've always been there for Parsippany since I've been mayor, and I know in the past as well. But before I get into the history of our relationship, can you tell us some of the programs, like, you have like Project Lifesaver for people with Alzheimer's or autism? Can you just...
Before I get into that, let me just mention about what you originally stated about supporting you and Parsippany and the Parsippany Police. We actually do that for all the municipalities in Morris County. And when Superstorm Sandy hit, I know you in Parsippany, you had a lot of flooding, and we supplied over 24 officers for 3 days around the clock to help you out. And that's one of our roles in Morris County, is to help the local mayors, council members, and police departments. And I have 100 sworn officers and 30 civilian officers, and our primary role is protection of the courts. Secondly, we provide support to all the municipal police so that if you have a break-in entry into Parsippany, whether it's your house or your car, or there's a homicide, our crime scene investigation unit is the one that would respond to help the Parsippany Police try to gather evidence and find the person who committed that crime. Some of the programs we have in Morris County Sheriff's Office, we started Project Lifesaver in New Jersey. It's a national program that helps people with Alzheimer's, dementia, or children with autism. And it's a rescue program, and basically it started many years ago, Project Lifesaver International, and when we looked at it in Morris County, we thought this is something that we need here. You have a bracelet that you put on the person that emits a signal every second, and that signal can be tracked for up to 1 mile. And it's put on the person who has either Alzheimer's, dementia, or the child with autism. And when that person wanders from the home, we can send an officer out, and the average time to find that person in Morris County has been about 22 minutes. In the past, when somebody wandered, you would call the fire department out, the police department, any municipal employee, and you have to start searching the area. And you may have 50 people out there going 1 mile in one direction, then back. Very time-consuming, very expensive, and the person could be hurt. The person could be dying. So with Project Lifesaver, we are able to help the people in Morris County. There's nothing worse for a caregiver than having to watch somebody 24 hours a day. And this is one of the reasons why we started it, to help caregivers. If anybody in the audience would like to know more about Project Lifesaver, you can go on our website, www.mcsheriff.org, or call the Morris County Sheriff's Office at 973-285-6600 and ask for the Project Lifesaver unit. There is no cost for this program. The funding originally came from the Older Americans Act. When that money dried up, we have been asking the service organizations in Morris County, nonprofit organizations, if they would donate one of the units for about $300 to somebody in their municipality who needs the program. And we've been very successful with Kiwanis clubs, Rotary clubs, Lions clubs, helping us out because it's a program that actually saves lives.
And you also have the crime scene officers to help out with municipalities during the crime scenes?
Right. We have 14 crime scene investigators, and our role is to go to a municipality that calls us. Let's assume that you go to work today and you come home tonight and you find your house is broken into. Your local police, the Parsippany Police, would be called, and they in turn, once they got to the scene and verified that a break and entry occurred, would call the sheriff's office out. And our crime scene investigators would go to your house and try to find evidence of the person who broke into your house. That evidence could be a fingerprint, it could be a fiber, it could be a tool mark, it could be anything like that. Then we gather that evidence and send it to our forensics lab. We have one of the most modern sheriff's offices in the state of New Jersey. It's one thing we've been fortunate with is been able to keep ahead of the curve and get the technology that we need to find people who break into homes. Now, the biggest problem I see in Morris County right now is the drug and heroin epidemic. I can tell you we have a canine unit with 14 canine dogs, and the dogs are capable of sniffing out narcotics, explosives used in firearms, accelerants used in fires, or general search and rescue. The Mendham Township Police in last year, in 2015, called our canine unit out 65 times when they had suspicion that there were narcotics in a car. 45 times our dogs reacted that enabled the Mendham Township Police to get warrants to search the car and charge the people with possession of narcotics. So those are just some of the things we do to help the municipal police.
You were talking about the drug epidemic in Morris County and all the things you did in Mendham. But in Parsippany, we became proactive. We have an SRO program in the schools, but we enhanced it. And we signed a contract with the schools where we have a lieutenant who's in charge of security of schools. And not just that, we have programs for anti-bullying, anti-drug, anti-human trafficking, and we're going to have assemblies in the schools because you have to be in the schools. And we also have a young lady we're probably going to hire who's going to go into the elementary schools to teach them about drug awareness because it's an epidemic that continues to grow and grow and grow, and that's something that
You need that in the schools. I think the biggest nightmare for parents is when a child gets hooked on drugs. And it's so easy. It usually starts with prescription pills. And one thing we have going good in Morris County is through MCPIC. Morris County Prevention is Key. Barbara Kaufman is in charge. Started the drug take-back program where a lot of the police departments have receptacles in their police headquarters where you can take unused prescription drugs and turn it in. And then it comes to the sheriff's office and we dispose of it legally. Leaving prescription drugs out for kids is the easiest way for your son or daughter or relative or spouse to get hooked on drugs. And I encourage parents to look in your medicine cabinet, take a look at what you have. Do you really need that stuff in there? If you don't, bring it to your local police department. If your local police department doesn't have a receptacle, call the sheriff's office and we'll make arrangements to pick it up and take care of it for you.
Well, I want to give to Hurricane Irene and Hurricane Sandy. During that time in Parsippany, our numbers were low in our police department. Just received notice of a 2% cap.
Yeah.
And I remember in 2011, we were almost going to lay off 9 police officers because we never had to adjust to this 2% cap. 24 DPW workers. Well, when Hurricane Irene hit the lowest section of Lake Hiawatha and flooded out, you guys assisted big time, and that's really appreciative because our numbers just weren't where they needed to be. And I say this, and I'll say it candidly, it's so much easier to legislate laws into effect than to govern. Because you're a sheriff, you're governing your department.
It's service to the public is 95% of law enforcement work. Somebody needs help. It's not always going out there and catching the bad guys.
Right.
People need help sometimes, whether it's as crazy as it sounds as an animal in a house, and you can get the police there or your animal control officer. Being responsive to your community is the most important thing your law enforcement agency can do. Because when people need help, who else can they call but your law enforcement officers?
Let's talk about this, though, because this is something that's been in the papers a lot. and I'm not going to get into the. But let's talk briefly about the Morris County Jail and your accreditations with running the cleanest, quietest, the most well-run jails by the American Correctional Association.
Well, we're very proud. The Morris County Correctional Facility has received accreditations from the American Correctional Association and the National Commission on Correctional Health Care. We received a 100% rating from the New Jersey Department of Corrections last year. Accreditation is important. You wouldn't send your son or daughter to a college or university unless it was accredited. You wouldn't go to a hospital unless that hospital was accredited. And what I mean by that, they follow a set of policies and procedures accepted to that profession. And in law enforcement, there is an accreditation body. It's called the National Sheriff's Association Triple Crown Award, the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies. When you can have all three accreditations, the two in the jail and the one in the law enforcement, you're eligible for what's called the Triple Crown Award from the National Sheriff's Association. It's extremely difficult to get that. Out of 3,083 sheriff's offices nationwide, only 38 sheriff's offices have been able to receive that, and fortunately we're one of those agencies. And I attribute that to the quality of officers and civilian and people that we hire. We look for the best, and we also provide the tools they need to get the job done. We provide the training that they need to get the job done. I have always been very proud of the job the correctional officers have done in the jail. Unfortunately, petty politics reared its head last year, and I supported some people who were not incumbents for the Freeholder Board, and the incumbents lost, and the meeting right after that, they removed the jail. They said it was for mismanagement. Well, when you receive a 100% rating from the Department of Corrections and you're nationally accredited and you're in the top 1% of law enforcement agencies in the United States, I find it hard to believe that there was any mismanagement there. But, you know, petty politics shouldn't come into play for anything, whether it's in the law enforcement division, the Department of Public Works. When you hire people and you promote people into leadership positions, you as a freeholder or you as a mayor or a councilman, you've placed your trust in those people and you give them the tools to do the job they need to get it done. If you don't do that and something goes wrong, you have to look in the mirror, because maybe you're the one at fault for having that problem in that municipality or that county government.
No, I agree. I mean, when you started as sheriff, are your numbers lower when you started as sheriff or higher now?
One of the major impacts that we had on the population in the jail, Sheriff John Fox started the SLAP program, the Sheriff's Labor Assistance Program, and that program was meant to keep low-level people charged with disorderly persons offenses and non-criminal, non-dangerous types of offenses out of jail. And it has worked because we have been able to keep the population low. When the jail was designed in the late 1990s, the freeholders at that time, actually Governor Chris Christie was a freeholder at that time, as was Jack O'Keefe from Denville. They built the jail. They wanted a jail that was only going to be for Morris County inmates. They didn't want to take federal inmates. They didn't want to take state inmates. And the county actually went to court in New Jersey to keep New Jersey inmates out of our jail, New Jersey sentenced inmates. And the courts ruled in Morris County's favor. That has kept the population down. Some people feel, well, we need to bring federal inmates in. Well, we're losing money. The reimbursement rate from the federal government doesn't cover the cost of an officer to guard that person. There was an agreement made with the mayors of Morris Township and Hanover Township when the jail was being sited. You know, nobody wanted a jail in their backyard, and Sheriff Fox was going crazy at the time. And then when I took over in 1992, people just did not want a jail in their backyard. The mayor of Morris Township went to the Freeholder Board and said, we will allow you to build on a tract of land in Morris Township off Ridgedale Avenue as long as it doesn't have any razor wire around the jail. The mayor of Hanover Township came to the freeholders and said, we will not oppose you putting the jail there as long as you do not take any federal or state inmates. And since that time, every Freeholder Board has complied with those requests from those two mayors. We have kept the population down through actually the Sheriff's Labor Assistance Program.
That's good. And now another question, because you're the head of the Sheriff's Department.
Okay.
The number of men and women on the force, is that down as well? I know that, when I became the mayor, our ordinance reads up to 113 police officers, and then with we got down to 87, so we were in...
I remember that, because Parsippany has always been the number one in law enforcement officers in this county, and you need those officers.
Yes,
I think it's important. When you drop below 87, I had 89 at the time, and if you recall, I mentioned to you, I said, hey, finally we're the number one law enforcement agency in terms of officers in the county. But listen, I've seen Parsippany grow over my 51 years in law enforcement. You have always consistently had a very good law enforcement agency, especially with the amount of coverage that you need and the population that you serve. And Parsippany is a good place to live and to work and to play. And I think a lot has to do with you and the governing body, and for the law enforcement and for your employees here. I know you're one of the towns that does not have a paid or part-paid fire department. And I think that's fabulous, because look at the money you're saving. The way you operate now, when having some of the town employees respond for a fire call, that saves your residents tremendous amount of tax dollars.
Right,
so you guys have always had the vision here in Parsippany, and you've always been the leader.
The McReds program, can you explain that to our residents in Parsippany?
I'm sorry?
Is it McReds? The McRed program, helping out the emergency students.
McReds program. That's the Morris County Regional Emergency Deployment System.
Yes, that's it.
McReds. That was started back in the 1990s, and it's like having an insurance policy. You don't want an insurance policy for yourself, because when you die, you don't get the money. You help your relatives, your spouse, somebody has it. It's the same with the McReds program. You don't want it to happen. You don't want it to come into your town. But basically what it is, all the police chiefs and mayors got together, and they said, listen, if any one town is having an emergency and you need officers quickly, and could be for an extended period of time, we will supply X number of officers from each agency to help you out. We will not charge you for that. And that's one of the best programs that has ever been started in Morris County. The mayors had the vision, the police chiefs had the vision. So let's assume maybe you have a building crumble or a plane crash in Parsippany, and you need help, law enforcement help immediately. Every municipality in Morris County, every police department is committed to sending as many officers as you need at no cost to Parsippany to help you until that crisis is over. So it's a great program. It's something we never want to use, but we have used it very successfully in the past. One of the best was when Florham Park had the World Bank conference come to Florham Park. Many protesters, and we were there for 4 days, 24 hours a day. Every police department in Morris County and some in Essex County actually sent officers to help us keep the calm at that location. So it's like an insurance policy to help the municipalities out to keep your costs down, but provide you with the security and comfort knowing that you have that at your fingertips whenever you need it.
Now, you have a SWAT team too, right?
Yes, we have a SWAT team. In Morris County, it's called Sheriff's Emergency Response Team. And it's like a SWAT team that you see in Los Angeles or New York. It started out with sheriff's officers and correction officers through Sheriff Fox. And basically our role was to help municipalities if there was a bank robbery and the perpetrator was still inside the bank, or there were hostages taken, or you had a serious warrant that you had to serve on somebody in your town. What we have done is we've expanded that program to include municipal police officers. One of the things I did, Captain Eugene Fleury from the New Jersey State Police, who was in charge of their elite teams unit, he retired. I hired him. He is the one solely responsible, reporting to me, for the CERT team. And what we decided was, let's invite municipal police officers to come and be part of that team. One of the reasons we did that was so that that officer can go back to his municipality and train other officers, train the trainer. If you have an incident where somebody's in school, you have an active shooter, the local police are going to get there first. hopefully that officer that was on that CERT team will bring that knowledge back and control the situation until our CERT team can get to that scene. So we want to include all the municipal police. The chiefs have bought into the program, and the mayors have bought into the program, because it is something that saves lives and protects the people in your community.
Right. Well, we're about out of time, but...
Oh, we can go on for another hour, can't we?
But I want to say this. Since I've been mayor, 2010 took office, you've been so wonderful for the town of Parsippany-Troy Hills. I wish you were running for sheriff. But I know, time's come.
Hey, 51 years is a long time, and I like to ski, and I like to see baseball, so I don't want to be carried out feet first. I want to have some fun. But I want to thank you and thank Chief Paul Phillips on the police department. You guys do a great job here. We work well together, and that's something I will miss, the camaraderie between the mayors and the police chiefs. But Mayor, you've done a good job here in Parsippany, and thank you.
And you've always been outstanding, and thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you.
It's important for our residents to see you again. Well, I'd like to thank you for tuning in for another episode of Pride in Parsippany. Until next time, God bless you all.